There is a lot more that was involved to winning this Texas 2K trophy from 2022, and people don't really know what that story is. So we want to make this episode to share with y'all how it came about, because it's a crazy story. So starting from when we got the 50th anniversary GTR, the plan was to build it to do the GTR 2 class. And I just thought, okay, they're gonna build it and we're just gonna participate because we haven't won in like 10 years. We got like a few second, third place spots, but not really a win in 10 years. So we're like, okay, this will be funsies, like just a funsies thing. And so Seth was working super hard building the car and it just wasn't ready. So I had to drive Kenny's car. Mind you, I did a stage 2, which is a 600 horsepower car for 4 years. And I did the 800 horsepower car in 2019 just for a year. And we're jumping to 1500 horsepower. So that's essentially almost twice, and a huge amount of horsepower to be given to me where I don't even have like a day experience of driving that. So I tested Kenny's car. We lowered the horsepower down so it still wasn't at that same capacity, but it was what we had at the time because my car wasn't ready. Ran it a few times. So it was mid-8s, and that was my first mid-8s. And it did feel pretty comfortable. So I did like 2 passes on that. And then the following week, we had another test and tune. And again, the car was not ready. And so I had to drive a different car that was almost at that same capacity. And I did like, I think I just did like 1 or 2 passes. And so we're like, okay, Texas 2K is coming up. I hope the car is even gonna be ready by then. Like, we didn't even know if the car was gonna be ready to go. So we're here with Seth talking about 2022 Texas 2K. Seth practically built the whole car and it was chaos and madness. So tell us your perspective of what happened during that event that not a lot of people got to witness.
You know, there was a lot of customer builds and everything going on. So I didn't even get to really start on working on the car till about 1 to 2 weeks before 2K. And then when we started running into a lot of parts issues. Build the motor first. We sent the heads to what at the time was our current machine shop. And we were like, hey, where's the heads? And he's like, oh, well, it'll be done tomorrow. And we're like, okay, cool. Tomorrow comes and he's like, well, it's gonna be done in 2 days.
Oh no.
2 days go by. It was like, all right. So then call him up 2 days later. It's like, it'll be tomorrow. And I was like, all right. We sent Jason. I'm like, hey, just go down there, see what's going on. Go to pick up the heads. Jason gets there. The guy's not even in the shop. He's out playing with his girlfriend at the time or something.
Oh,
I don't know what was going on. The heads are sitting there in pieces. Not done. It wasn't ready. We picked up the heads that day. We boxed it up. And we like next dated it to ETS, and ETS built the heads over the weekend and then shipped it back to us. So then I started putting the motor together. I'm like, all right, now it's time to put the turbo kit on. We started looking at him, like, I think Kevin might have noticed at first. He's like, one turbo is bigger than the other. And we're like, what do you mean? He's like, there were 58 mils, but they were started at 68s that were cut down to 58s. One was cut down properly to a 58. The other one was still a 68.
Oh my God.
And so we're like, oh my God. So then we like try to contact Precision to get a turbo, and it's gonna be like a couple weeks, and it's like a couple weeks is 2K.
Yeah.
So then we're like, oh. So we start calling around, and then it turned out T1 had a set of those turbos actually just sitting on their shelf, brand new, ready to go. So
cool.
We ended up picking those up, and then started putting the whole car together. There was a lot of fitment issues that I fought with day and night to get it all together. There was a lot of work even just getting in the car.
So let me tell you how the Hello Kitty wrap came about. Initially, Kenny didn't want it to be Hello Kitty. I kept pushing for it for months. And he's like, no, it has to be Joe-Tech, aggressive, sporty looking, and it's a male-dominated sport, so I don't want it to look girly because we don't have much clientele in that. And so I was like, okay, fine. And so the guys knew I wanted Hello Kitty, so they brought Jay into the shop literally the day before it was gonna get loaded for Texas 2K, and he stuck some Hello Kitty stickers on there and did an amazing job. And I was super surprised. I got the text message at home, like right as I was packing for 2K, and I saw like this little Hello Kitty thing on it, and I thought that's all it was gonna be, just like on the fender. I was like, oh my gosh, and I was like super happy with that. I finally saw the car for the very first time at TX2k. Like nobody even showed me the car. I think it was supposed to be a surprise. And it had all of these Hello Kitty graphics, like even more on it. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, this is like such a pretty car. And the reaction from so many of the spectators that were out there were really cool, because it's just so different from like an aggressive GTR. It's super girly, and so it drew a lot of like women and children, even just like normal like people and men too. Like every time they would look at the car, they would smile. I don't know if they're making fun of it, but I still saw a smile. So it invoked positivity, and we got so much positivity during that weekend, and I think that definitely helped send good vibes to the car to get the win. But it was kind of disaster after disaster. We get there, the car's like looking super pretty, and I was like, okay, this is fine. I'm happy with the way, even if we don't win, even if it doesn't run, because we've never tested it, we made it out here. And so we were doing qualifying. We have 2 qualifying passes. The first qualifying pass, the car died halfway through the track. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it did a good launch and then it died. And so I guess there was a wiring harness issue that Seth had to fix. The
Motec wouldn't plug directly into the car. We had to rewire all the ECU pinouts and everything. So I had to do all that, and we didn't really know anyone at the time that did it. We talked to T1, they hadn't done it yet, but they provided us with a bunch of the parts. So as I was doing it, it turned out the original diagram that was supplied by the guys that first did it, there was 4 pins, I think, that were wrong. And so I had to figure out what that was, and I got that fixed. Once that was all done, then we finally got the car in the dyno. Everything was good. So we thought the car dynoed okay, but then when you started going down the track, the car would die out.
Halfway down the track, it would die. I thought we were just
So I went through the logs, and the logs were like the throttle body was freaking out. And so I was like, all right, so I rewired all the wiring for the throttle body, because I figured since I rewired the engine harness, it was something I did. So I rewired all that stuff, and then you went down your second qualifying pass, and it still just...
It still died.
It still took a dump halfway down, and I went through it. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. So there's a bunch of junctions where the throttle bodies go till it reaches the Motec. I'm like, maybe it's something in there. So then I wired it basically directly from the throttle bodies, bypassed everything, all the jumper boxes, all the way into the Motec. Then we sent you out again, and then it did it again. And then I was like, man, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong on this wiring. I went to Tony Palo, and I'm like, I told him I rewired everything. And he's like, what about the jumper harnesses at the throttle bodies? AMS supplies a jumper harness to extend the throttle bodies and flip them when you put the AMS manifold on. And I was like, I didn't check that. I just assumed the problem was related to me and not something else from someone else. And he's like, I would check those out. So then we got the car back to the pits, and then with the car running, I started jiggling those little harnesses that were supplied by AMS, started jiggling them around, and the car would just shut off. And I was like, oh, I guess it is those.
That's what it was.
Yeah, so then I think I went to AMS. I'm like, hey, you guys have spare harnesses? I think ours are bad. And one of the guys was pretty cool. He dug through the whole trailer, and he pulled out a box, and he had a set.
Oh, that's so
and
good.
Then we put it on, and by then you had already qualified dead last, and this was your first pass, which was supposed to be against the #1 qualifier, but he broke.
Yeah.
And so you had a buy run, and I'm like, well, full send it, let's see if this fixed it. And I think you did like an 8-2 pass or something like that.
Yeah, it went full on, and all the stars aligned.
So from there, I can actually start making tuning adjustments. So I actually looked at it, and then we started going faster and faster every pass. And the good thing was the #1 qualifier, you know, I mean, good for us, not good for him, but he broke. So the only guy that was really faster than us basically was a no-show during the eliminations. And so then all we had to do is keep it together.
The third time, which was eliminations already, that's when it had its full pass and run, and it went so straight, it was so solid, and it hit the 8-second mark. So everybody was like super excited, and we're like, yay! So I made that round, and then the second eliminations killed that one. But every time I ran the car after every elimination pass, I was always just thinking, this is just testing the car. It's never been tested. It literally went from the dyno to Texas 2K without ever being tested. So to me, I'm like, we're not gonna win. We're just testing the car. And that's what I even told like the competition, because I really didn't think it was gonna get to what it got to. I made it all the way up to finals. And again, I still had that mindset that let's just test the car. And then we won.
Oh man, Soryanovich with a great reaction time. Is it enough? Top man, quarter mile. Luna Tran gets it, 8:01. And just like that, a girl wins GTR class true. Luna Tran with Joe Tech takes home the win. What a race. There you go.
Which was like the craziest thing, because again, the last time we took first place was with Kenny about 10 years ago, and we got it again. So it came full circle because it went from like Kenny and then us taking it home. So that was like pretty cool. What do you see for the future for the Lunatic car? Because it's pretty much on you on how you want to build it.
So because the car was built in a really short amount of time, there's a lot of corners that I cut that I feel that I'm not really proud about, and so that's what this revamp is doing. Yeah, none of the things that I skipped on hurt the car, but I want to make sure that the car stays as reliable as possible. So I'm making a full new harness because, like I said, I kept patching the harness and doing weird things to try to fix the issues, and now the harness is to a point where I'm just completely unhappy with it. It works fine, but I'm building a full motorsport harness with a mil-spec connector. That way, every time we need to drop the engine, it's just, you just turn it about half turn and the whole harness unplugs from the car.
So another question about Texas 2K. When I crossed that finish line and it was like an official win, tell me how you were feeling.
I was so tired, it was hard to like really understand what was happening, but you know, at the same time, it was pretty emotional because you know, it was a few weeks of hell. In the GTR community, 2K is really like the Super Bowl for racing GTRs. And so typically the people that are gonna win, their cars are dialed in, you know what I mean? Their cars have raced before. This was a new setup, a new build. We were untested. We were testing during qualifying, which we never got.
That was our test.
Yeah, we never got good qualifying tests. And then, you know, during the eliminations, we were actually starting to dial the car in. So like that was a real struggle. So to accomplish that, you know, it feels pretty good being down the winner's lane, you know, that.
Yeah, that was fun.
Every time we end 2K down that road, like it feels pretty good. Like, you know, there's years we go there and, you know, before the end of the whole event, we're already packing up.
There's nothing, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people do that. Like, you know, it's not everyone's gonna win at that event. Like there's a lot of racers that go and only a handful of us are gonna come out, you know, winners. And
because anything could happen, even if you are the fastest car.
The fastest guys don't always win.
Yeah.
You know, the fastest guys don't always win because you have to be fast, but you also have to be reliable. But at the same time, like, you can't just be reliable, you have to be fast because everyone's pushing their cars to the limit. You know, it was a little bit of luck for us, but, you know, we just kept through it, we stuck it through, and it paid off in the end.
It was, before this, it was like 10 years ago since Joe Tech got a first place, so that was really special. It was a very special win for us. Yeah,
you know, we get like second and thirds a lot, but first is definitely not a common place.
It's so hard to get first.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are very serious when they enter this event. They're, you know, they have a fresh engine right before they go in, fresh transmission,
they have
and they've dialed in the car, you know, 6 months before, and then just kind of freshen it up. But the car's gonna, you know, they have it all dialed in, and you know, we were not dialed in at all. So.
No, not even a little bit.
And you know. And at the same time, like if it wasn't for help of, you know, good friends, if, you know, I was struggling with the wiring and Palo, he, you know, he's like, hey, maybe it's not you, maybe it's something else. And, you know, he's always been pretty good about helping me, lead me in the right direction. And, you know, if it wasn't for that help, you know, we would have, you know, I wouldn't have figured it out till after the event, you know. For him, he rather help people out and bring the whole motorsport industry up. And that way everyone's competing at a high level rather than one guy stay at the high level and let everyone else suffer.
Yeah. He's a good guy. And lastly, tell us about your C8 right here. So this is Seth C8. He actually got a world record on it as well. And tell us the future of this car.
So the future of this car is a little unknown. This did set the fastest time with a stock engine. I think it's still the fastest stock engine C8. Well, when it had a stock engine, but I don't think anyone's reset that time yet.
Oh, so he still has the record.
But for stock engine, with a built engine, I'm 4th or 5th at this point, and everyone, the rest of the industry is starting to come up, and I've been kind of letting it sit for a few months. So we got to dust it off. We got some plans to carry out. You know, with HP tuners unlocking the ECU now. This car had a partially tuned ECU, but I didn't have full control of it, and now I will. So we're gonna see where we can go with this platform next. We want to push it a little bit harder, see if we can get the overall world record, which would be nice.
More world records in his pocket for the future.
You know, maybe we need to put a lighter driver in it.
Yeah, can I drive?
Yeah.
You guys heard it. Seth said I could race a C8. Ooh. So that's gonna be coming up soon. So that kind of wraps up. I just wanted to share with y'all our journey on what we went through with TX2k and the win, and how the Lunatic car came about, because not a lot of people know that Cinderella story, and it kind of was a Cinderella story really, because it went from like qualifying to completely last place to taking the trophy home. So I don't think we really highlighted it when we actually won, so I just wanted to share that with y'all. And that's the journey, and don't forget to like and subscribe and notification bell, and I will see y'all at the next episode. Bye. Ooh, Seth, stop throwing stuff away.
Not me.
Okay.
It's your husband.
You guys are procrastinators, that's why. Okay.